The next session on supply chain security, assessing and mitigating risk in a globalized digital ecosystem by Mr. Anand Deodhar, Group Chief Information Officer, Head IT, Force Motors Limited. Can we have a big round of applause for Mr. Anand? Innovative and proficient, result-oriented IT leader with a demonstrated history of successfully delivering projects. He has made significant contribution to the business by shaping technology vision and strategy, ensuring the effective execution of major technology initiatives. He possesses robust capability in re-engineering business processes, guiding organizational transformation and delivering high-quality, cost-effective IT solutions consistently adds business value. His expertise spans digital transformation, SAP, SRM, IT security, IT infra, and manufacturing processes, encompassing the entire journey from goods receipt to vehicle sales. He is known for his ability to attract, recruit, manage, and mentor top performing teams. He has over 2 decades of experience specializing in leading the successful delivery of complex and extensive transformational programs. Over to you, sir.
I think Mayank has covered the most difficult part after lunch. I'll try to keep it simple, give more practical examples on supply chain security. So imagine it's 2 o'clock in the early morning. You get a wake-up call from your IT team that your MES system has been hacked. A ransomware attack has taken place. And once you talk about MES system, it affects the entire plant for sure. Especially for a vehicle manufacturing plant, it's like you don't know what you're going to produce, how much you're going to produce, in what sequence you're going to produce, and other things. So you're at complete loss. Your line is stopped. Every shift is stopped. And in addition to that, your supply chain is also getting impacted because now it's not an isolated system. All your MES is connected to your suppliers. Most of the just-in-time, just-in-sequence items come through real-time broadcast. So the suppliers also don't know what they are going to produce and how much they need to produce. So don't think this as a hypothetical case. This is a real case in our scenario, which every CIO, CISO goes through. Most important thing is, are we ready for this or not? So this will start this. You must be knowing this statement. You're only as secure as your weakest link in your supply chain. And the supply chain security is a real and growing issue for all modern enterprises for sure. We all know how a traditional supply chain used to work. You have got a buyer, supply chain buyer who used to call suppliers and get the material done. There's one small joke over here that he used to tell, "Gaadi gate par hai." Huh? So it means if you want to take that umbrella, you would say "Gaadi gate par hai." Which gate he will never tell, our company gate or the supplier's gate. But now these things are of past. Most of our supply chain are interconnected, heavily dependent on each other. And this applies to both the physical and cyber chain security. Largely and more flexible supply chain networks provide malicious and criminal actors with a bigger cyber attack surface. So as we start interconnecting with the suppliers, the surface area goes much and beyond. And the attacker has got a lot of way to get into the system. So this means that the organization has to work much harder on both the fronts, whether it is cyber or physical. So as you know, ATS, so supply chain is mostly dependent on agility, transparency, and speed. To achieve this, all our devices are interconnected. Even my broadcasting sequence, my supply chain commitments, everything is interconnected with my suppliers. The supplier can see what I'm going to do, what I'm going to produce and other things. And to meet this demand, the organizations enable direct integration of supplier systems into their own supplier platforms, facilitating faster data sharing. However, each supplier typically managed its own intricate and interconnected supply chain, adding further complexity to the process. As a result, the modern supply chain now features more nodes and it's more vulnerable now. I'll share some examples of physical disruption and then cyber attacks as well. So I don't know how many are from automobile background over here. 2 to 3 years back, there was a huge shortage of semiconductor chips. So as we started recovering from COVID operations, and most people started working from home, there was a huge demand for laptops and other electronic goods. And most of the supply chain, semiconductor chips producers have started diverting the chips to laptops and other suppliers. And there are some plants which got closed down as well. This created, it's not that semiconductor chips are required only in computers, they are also required in vehicles as well. So all your vehicles which are now connected, sort of connected vehicles, they run on semiconductor chips, whether it is your cooling system, your display system or any other system, everything is now working on a semiconductor chip. The problem was that there was a shortage of chips and there was no visibility how much we can produce, and suppliers were helpless, literally helpless. So what did most of the manufacturer OEM did was that they started procuring these chips through auction. So if the price was X for the semiconductor chips, they went as far as procuring at 10x price. This is just to avoid the production loss. Just imagine 10,000 people sitting in each shift doing nothing. And the loss is close to 5 to 10 crores for each organization every day. To avoid this, they procured on through auction basis at a higher price and ensure and gave it to suppliers so that they produce the components and the line starts running. So this was one physical disruption. COVID-19, you all know, difficult days. I don't know how many you remember those red zones. We had no visibility how many vehicles will get affected by which component. In case you have got exposure to global procurement, especially China, there was zero visibility in that. So most important thing was, do you have visibility whether which part is coming from which location and which country? Do you have a value chain mapping across the tiers, tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 of all the supply chain? And if you have got the value chain mapping, then only you can relate to the bill of material of the vehicle. And from there, you can try to identify which vehicle you can make, knowing that Tamil Nadu is in the red zone, China is in the red zone, what all components which I can source from other sources so that I can run the show. So this was another physical disruption of supply chain which impacted everybody. Not Pete attack. So this started as just a geopolitical attack on Ukraine, and it slowly became worldwide within hours. The malware irreversibly encrypted the master boot records, caused widespread disruption operation for numerous multinational corporations. I will not name the corporation. It's a shipping giant, it's a pharma giant, and other food giants as well. So just imagine the shipping giant, in case its operation goes down, it is going to impact worldwide. So it had so much devastating impact. Next was the heavyweight sophisticated state advisory response, a series of linked intrusions against multinational organizations in aerospace, defense, and related industries. targeting most of the companies. So it's gained this by hacking through the tier 1, tier 2 supply chain. Ransomware is now a common thing and is going to stay there in our ecosystem for sure. Locar-Goga is another ransomware variant that hit numerous companies in engineering, chemical, and metal industries. Interestingly, the true goals of Locar have been destructive, not just financial, because later versions of malware made it difficult to come back to its original state as well. So before I go there, there was a recent incidence of CrowdStrike as well. I hope how many of you got impacted, I don't know. Yeah. So though it was not a malware or a ransomware attack, but supply chain got impacted for sure. Most of the airlines got impacted who were running on this. So you need to have a plan B in place for sure whenever for any supply chain attack. Supply chain traceability is very important. Just imagine, you all know that airbag, it's a very critical component for any vehicle. And normally there are 2 or 3 suppliers who are supplying airbags, maybe X, Y, or Z. And in case you find a problem with the X supplier airbag, you need to know how many vehicles have been impacted because of that. In absence of traceability, you will be left searching around which vehicle we need to check and which not. So in traceability, what essentially you do is you marry the critical component with the vehicle so that in case anything goes wrong with that, you know where to fall back and you can quickly identify the systems through the system which all vehicles are got impacted. So this is a big slide. So just as modern supply chains are global, so are the threats, particularly when it comes to cyber security. Threat actors are not bound by geography and can target any point in the supply chain. So first is compromising geopolitics. The advantage, so cyber threat actors are taking advantage of geopolitical crisis, whether it is Ukraine, whether it is Israel-Arab conflict, you are not immune to any thing which is happening globally. You are going to get impacted in one or the other way, for sure. Second is cyber criminals are getting, they are forming a syndicate and trying to attack through groups and other things. Ransomware, as I told, is there to stay and you need to be very protective about your assets. And lastly is related to vulnerabilities in the cloud infrastructure. So as we have got more exposure to clouds, the threats are going to come for sure. We need to have clear-cut distinction between what is the cloud service providers deliverables and what are our deliverables in cyber security. Related to emerging threats, AI is going to be major player for cyber attacks and for cyber defense as well. So most of our defense mechanism will be also based on AI. The attackers will be one step ahead of us for sure in this. So what is the solution? So organization needs to embed security principle the way across the supply chain networks. No industry is exempt. You can't think that my industry is safe, that industry will get impacted. It's not like that. Everybody is going to get impacted. So there are strict regulatory implications such as NIST SP 800-171 which are put in place. And it's quite possible that these are likely to get get extended to other industries as well. So what we need to do? So first is we need to have a center of gravity, a dedicated program office which will cover most of the areas and who will tackle all the cyber related threats. We need to have a visibility of supply chain, how the components are coming, what all possible ways they are going to get impacted. Understand threats and weakness. As I told, you're as good as your weakest link. So you need to understand all our strengths and weaknesses and try to concentrate on weaknesses and close those gaps. Have a toolbox of solution in place. So have a ready-made kit, what all supposed to know we need to do whenever any attack comes, and we need to do that. Lastly, don't get relaxed. Always maintain and monitor. So what we can do about it? It's not enough to secure the walls of our enterprise anymore. We need to think beyond. We need to build a resilient, secure supply chain ecosystem. This means that partnering with suppliers, going to the tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3 as well. On cybersecurity, leveraging advanced technology like AI for threat detection. So some of the good practices that we need to identify who are our critical suppliers, check their network infrastructure as well. Check whether their data center operations are properly maintained or not. And finally, as a CEO, we are not just responsible for technology, we are stewards of our organization future. Let's lead the change in securing our supply chain because the risks are real and so are the opportunity to build trust. Thank you.
Thank you for the insightful session. I would like to call upon stage Mr. Manoj Kulkarni, ICT Head, Business Assurance, Indian Subcontinent, DNV, to do the honors.